Welcome back, guys. In this video we're going to learn how to store the custom fields and meta boxes data in WordPress database. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is basically create another function, a custom function, and hook it to the save post hook. So WordPress provides us with a different hook called save post, and you can hook your custom function to this particular hook, and you can insert your in fact do all the action of in terms of saving the information into the database in case if you've already created some custom input fields inside the form. So this is basically the pre-existing WordPress form, and inside of this form, if we just want to show that to you, form. Okay, here it is. I think there it is. This one should be some other form. Yep, this is the one. You can see that this is the form. Okay, form name post.php ID and all of that. And this is where we have inserted, inside of this form is where we have inserted our stuff, which is the meta boxes information. So if I just show you, just keep going. These are custom fields. So this is the input field that we have created inside of the same form. Okay, great. So we are creating a custom function called IHS script save custom box, which is over here. We are checking if this function doesn't exist before creating this, and it will provide us with the post ID automatically for that particular post. And over here, we're going to check that if the post type is set, post $post type is set, and if it is equal to page, and if the current user cannot edit the page, then return, which means don't show these information, don't do anything if it's not the person who is allowed to edit the page. Similarly for the post as well, if the user is not allowed to edit the page, then just return from this function and don't do anything. And over here we are going to check if the nonce value that we had created on top, so this nonce value input field that we have created, whether or not it is the same nonce. So using the WP verify nonce function, if we check that over here, so job of the function is to verify the nonce is correct and unexpired with respect to the specified action. Okay, so because we had defined a nonce, this particular function had created an input field with a certain nonce. This function is going to verify whether it's the same nonce or not, and we've passed the next parameter as the plugin base name file, which is, I think, the URL. Let me just echo this out and see what we get over here. Let's close this, fresh, and we do WP die over here so we don't get any other action. So you can see add post script plugin or add post script plugin.php. So I think this is basically nothing but the root directory name of our plugin. Okay, so that's another parameter that we pass over there. Cool, let's get back to what we're discussing into this function. Okay, so we'll check if this is set, and if it's the same nonce that we had passed. And if you want to see that whenever this post form is available, we get the $post available here. So I want to show that to you. So I will go ahead and print out post over here, refresh the page, and in fact we'll do WP die also, but first we'll put something. Let's create a page. Okay, so let's create a page. Let's say this page is my page meta, and this is the content. Okay, and then let's save some information here in this. So let's create style, and inside of which we say body, and let's say background is red. Okay, and then over here, okay, let's leave this, we'll save that later. So once we fill this information, when the post is published, then we should be able to get that data. So let's uncomment this out, do a WP die over here. Refresh the page, update. Oh, sure enough. So you can see this is provided us with an array of post. Over here we are checking if the post type is set. So where is the post type? Let's see. This is the post type. Post type is equal to page. If this is set, and if this is equal to page, and if the user is not able to edit the page, then return. And similarly, if the user is not able to edit the post, if it's the post type is anything else, then return. Similarly, we'll check if this is set, which means just add script nonce name. Let me check. Okay, I think I've done die over here, that's why it's not showing. Let's go to die. Click on update. You can see the style sheet has been applied, that's why you're seeing that red. So just bear with me, let me just zoom it out. It's too red, yeah. Okay, anyways, bear with me. So what are we looking at? We are looking at this key. It's not there. Okay, we will get there in some time. I think it's not showing just yet because we still need to write some of the other functions, and we will certainly go ahead and get that thing going. Okay, so just to let you know that this will allow us to verify that nonce, this particular function. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do is basically get the post ID. So over here we should have a post ID. So you can see this post ID, right, and it's equal to 144. So we're saying that the post ID will be equal to $_post ID. So this one right here. If this is set, then set the post ID variable equal to the post ID. If not, then it's -1, which is false. Header script, similarly, IHS script header. Again, it's not showing yet because I think it's not saved in the database. That's fine. Okay, so we will come back to this in a moment. So basically, this is going to get the value of the IHS add script header and footer, etc. Okay, and then this function basically is going to update the post meta into the database. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Let's refresh the page. Okay. Again, you can see that this has been saved into the database. If you go to WordPress database, WP post meta, and this particular post ID, if I hover over it, in fact, don't need to hover, its post ID is 144. So if I search for post ID 144 into the database under the WP post meta table, and that should be at the end, I believe. Yeah, here's what you can see. So this is basically the post ID, right? And this is the meta ID. You can see that IHS add script header meta. That's the meta key basically. So the update post meta function is taking the first parameter as the post ID. Second parameter is the name of the meta key, which is IHS add script header meta. And then the meta value is basically this, which has been taken from the $_post. And this is stored into the database over here. Okay, similarly, this will store the information for the footer meta, And footer script, since we did not save anything inside of this, that's why this is null. This doesn't have any value, this particular one, this one. Okay, great. So you can see that all of this information is saved into the database. The next thing we need to do basically is apply these on that particular page. So how do we do that? For that, what we need is basically, the first thing is we want to get the page ID. So whichever page we want to apply this style that the user has entered in the post meta, we need the page ID for that. So how do we get that? We're creating this function, which is I just get current page ID. Inside of this function, we are calling the global post variable. We are setting the ID is equal to false first, and in case if the post is set, if it's not set, then return, don't do anything. And if the user is on a singular page, this function checks if the user is on a single page, then ID is equal to post ID. So if you just whenever you call this function, basically it's going to return the post object, and we are accessing the ID property of the post object, which is going to give me the ID of that particular page. Okay, so this function is going to return the ID of the page. Next thing we're going to do is basically get the value from the database for the meta data that the user is stored. So basically I want to get this value, and I want to go ahead and apply that in the head section of the page. So if I go to the head section of the page, okay, so this is my page. So if I clicked on the link of the page, it took me here to that particular page, and you can see it's my page meta. I want to apply whatever script the user has written, whether it's a style or script, inside of the head section somewhere over here. In order for me to do that, the first thing I want to do is basically get that data from the database, and then I'm going to use the WP head hook that WordPress provides. So I'm going to copy paste this particular function. I'm going to add action WP head. This is the head function hook, and if you're going to go ahead and hook our custom function IHS add script header, which is what we've created here, and this is basically the priority. We are setting this to 100 so that the style or script can be applied at the very bottom, which means just before the head section ends. Inside of this function, we are creating a variable called output. We are setting the value to null, empty string. Then we are getting the ID of that particular page using the custom function we've just created, which is returning the ID of the page. Then we are checking if ID, which means if the value is set for the ID, then output is equal to get post meta. We all know that the get post meta is the one which is responsible, the function for WordPress, which is responsible for getting the value of a particular meta key from the database. So get post meta function accepts first parameter is the ID of that particular page. Second parameter is the meta key. So meta key is basically this. You can see the meta key inside the WP post meta table. And meta key is IHS script header meta, which is what we're passing over here. True means that I only don't want the complete object. I want only the value over here. Okay, so over here this is going to get me this value. So basically this one. Okay, so basically output will be equal to this value. Okay, and we're hooking it over here. So now if we go ahead and save this and we refresh our page, sure enough you can see that the body has become red. Okay, we have not ended the style tag, so let me do that. Update it, refresh the page, and sure enough you can see the body has become red. If you on this particular page that we have applied this style, you can see that the background is red, and that's what we had entered over here, right? That's what we entered over here. And if you want to see where is that, you scroll down just before the body tag, sorry, the head tag ends. Show up to you. Here is my head tag. Just before it ends, there should be this style that we have applied over here. Let's do a page source just to make it faster. Where is the head section? Okay, it's here. You can see this is where the head section ends. Okay, and you can see that the style that the user has entered has been applied, body background red, and that's what we had applied over here. Okay, great. Next thing, this is done for this first box, meta box, and we're going to do that same for the second meta box also. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Obviously, I don't have to explain this again to you. It's the same thing we are doing. We are setting output ID. We're getting the ID. We are strip slashes. We're going to strip the slashes from whatever has been entered into the database. It's going to echo the output and put it just before the body tag ends using the WP footer function. This is just to show you this WP head and WP footer. If you go on to any theme that's active, so let's say this theme is active. If you go on to the header section, you can see that there's a WP head function just before the head. This is the one that allows us to add our own custom functions or scripts or styles. At this point, if you check where this function defined in WordPress, you will notice that this is where it's defined and it's doing a do action of WP head hook, and that's the hook that we are using to hook onto our stuff. Similarly for our footer.php, just before the footer ends, it provides this WP footer function. If you check the definition of it, this is WP footer hook, and that's the hook. These are the hooks that we are using to hook into our stuff just before the head tag ends and just before the body tag ends. So we are inserting our custom scripts, which is stored by the user into the database, using inside of the meta boxes for WP head, and over here is doing a WP footer. So this script will go just before the head tag ends, and this script will go just before the body tag ends. Okay, great. Think the last but not the least, what we want to do is basically include some style sheet, because I just want to style this a bit because it's looking very ugly. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and include my style sheet. So I've created a style.css file already, and I've written some style to style my input fields. I'm not going to go into that, it's pretty basic. So I'm checking if this function doesn't exist, then defining this function. I'm using WP style function. This is the handle, unique name, plugin URL will get me the URL up until my plugin directory, and style.css is basically this particular entire path. Hooking this function to admin enqueue script. This hook will allow me to add my style sheet to this particular page over here. Refresh the page, and sure enough, it is more style now. Yeah. Great. Now if I go ahead and enter any script over here, obviously I can't add a style over here, I have to add a script. So basically we need to add the script into this format. I'm going to do that. Let's say I do an alert test, or I can say that footer script. And similarly, I can also add another script over here, which says header script. Now if I go and save the page, go back, refresh the page, sure enough, I have the header script alert, and I have the footer script alert. Great. So everything working fine. I just want to give you a recap just before you leave, and this will happen for the page as well, and this will happen for the post as well, in case if the user has added any particular custom post type, it will happen for that as well. So this meta boxes will be available for those pages, those edit section as well. And you can also see that the same styles will not be applicable for any other post. If I have to go over here, let's say this hello world, I haven't added any scripts or styles over here. If I go into this page, sure enough, there is no style sheet or script been applied over here. So only for that particular page where the user have done it. Great. Let me quickly give you a recap so we can wrap this up. Starting from the top, we create a custom function, add a script, add a custom box, hook it to the add meta boxes. The job of this is basically to loop through each of the post types and add meta boxes. Okay, and then it's calling a custom function. Inside of this custom function, we are checking the nonce field, and it's got the table and everything. sorry, it's got the input fields for the meta boxes. Okay, and yeah, and this is going to get me the information from the post meta from the database and echo the value over here. So this value that you see that's been echoed over here is the one responsible for, where is it? Responsible of displaying all the information from the database. If I don't echo this, if I don't get that information, pre-existing value from the database, then this will be blank. It won't show me anything. The user wouldn't know what he had entered after it's saved. The next thing we're doing is basically saving this information, hooking this custom function to the save post hook, which would allow me to save all of this information in the post meta using the update post meta function and make the entire entire $_ post available over here. Let's print it out here. $_ post. Let's print it. Update it. Might have to do WP die. Page. That's the one. Date. Okay, there's something wrong. Just one moment. Anyways, I showed them to you earlier what the post variable consists of, and it would also consider of all of these nonce names, etc. Great. And then over here we are getting the page ID, and then we are getting the value from the post meta for the header meta and footer meta, and we are adding those scripts just before the head tag ends using WP head hook, and just before the footer the body tag ends using the WP footer hook. Then we're including our custom style sheets. That's pretty much it. Okay, so if you do like my video, please do subscribe to my channel. You can write any questions you have, and I'll certainly help you with that. All right, guys, take care and bye.